everyone, Joe here for What's in the Tube. Welcome to our show where we talk about things in the world of television. Sometimes we are doing episode-by-episode reviews, sometimes we're doing seasonal reviews, or sometimes we are just doing these quick impressions, where it's not really a review, it's just me talking about a show or a TV season that just came out. But it's not really a review, it's more like giving my thoughts out there for whatever reason I decide to do. But today we are talking about King of the Hill revival season, because I just want to talk about it. I really, really do. It's very rare nowadays in my current scheduling of life to have time to even talk about something that's not in my routine calendar. It's very difficult. I don't have the bandwidth to do everything, but it's not time to go watch TV shows on my own accord, which I have been doing since normally every television season I'm always covering a show or two or sometimes three. So I'm usually got some time for my own. But today we're talking about, like I said, the King of the Hill revival season in a quick impressions format. I'm only spoiling things from maybe episode 1, and that's about it. Everything else beyond that, I'm going to keep it, spoiler-free as possible. So if anyone who has not checked out the new season, the return of the King, you still got time. And honestly, I'm going to start off this with saying that I've been waiting so long for this season. I've waited so long for the show to come back. It's one of those revivals that I think I thought for me I was in a minute crowd, because when King of the Hill first aired, I was just a novice kid. I think, at the very end of its run, I was just turning 13, or I was 12, around that age point, and it was on the Adult Swim network. I didn't even know about Fox or anything, and then the Cleveland show got it canceled because they didn't want to. They just didn't have any more slots, and Seth MacFarlane was huge at the time. He still is now, but just from an animation standpoint, and Seth MacFarlane, you got to move some things around for him, but so that resulted in King of the Hill being canceled at the time, and I think, for me, when it comes to adult animation, I'm very much like, I understand, like, it gotta lean to the South Park, even sometimes Family Guy, but I always love those wholesome, like, you get some adult content, it's more mature, but it's not really for kids. Like, I like those, like, little corn, like, right now, like, I think my favorite is Bob's Burgers, as a result, over 13 years in a movie, and so far that still has a pretty good track record. So that's like one example from it. And ironically, that came out I think a year or two after King wrapped up, so it kind of like filled that slot in perfectly for what it was trying to kind of miss out for what King of the Hill was doing on the air for those 13 original seasons. And I binged for all of them whenever it was on Adult Swim. Like, I think for me, I probably watched nearly the entire original run from Adult Swim, and I was such a fan of it. Even though I knew this was like TV-14, I was like kind of kissing that border. Regardless of what it may be, I love the characters. I love that little world. At least the main characters were always so relatable, human to an extent. Nothing really seemed too outlandish, and I think again that was the charm and the specification of the show, and I think that's what really made it succeed for it to last, 13 years. Like, and then when you get to those original first 4 or 5 seasons, it told like a little mini story at a time. Like, there's continuity, there's things being affected where like shows like Family Guy, Adult Swim, not Adult Swim, American Dad, The Simpsons don't really have it. Maybe sometimes in the blue if they're making a sequel episode, but honestly, more times than not, it was very much on its own. And that was like something like, wow, like Bobby's actually getting a little older. The characters are being really impacted by something. Hey, they're referring to something from the first season. And I'm like, it's not comedy. It really isn't. Most cartoons try to be, in the syndication method of like, we're keeping things, we got the overall premise, and that's all people need to know. They don't need to know anything more about that. Once this goes to syndication, the broadcaster could just pick and choose whatever they want to air for that day, and then call it a night for that one. And I think it worked for it. I think they had the best of both worlds there. I will admit that when you get to season 6 to about 11, that's kind of when like the quality kind of dips a little bit. Like, sporadically there'll be a great run of episodes, then you kind of have some mids, and then you kind of and then by the time we get to the last 2 seasons, I think there was more often than not more hits than misses, so I will give them credit for that. So, but I still wanted more. I really did. Like, if Family Guy can go for more than 20 years, if The Simpsons can go for more than 30 years, why couldn't King get that same treatment? It wasn't fair. It's like kind of like, where Futurama was like, it got canceled so many times, and now thankfully Hulu's got its own run on it now, however far it goes into, who the heck really knows. But no, so when they announced that King of the Hill was coming back, I was like, hell yeah. I'm like, finally, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, even when we got the first breadcrumbs at the end of the 2010s, when this was talking about when I was in college, I was like, hell yes, I want this badly, but the platform wasn't there, the market wasn't there, and now after all this time, here we are, finally, 10 brand new episodes for consumption, and I binged that so quick. I did, and I think that's the highest compliment I can do. I literally woke up at, well, I woke up for a different reason, but I didn't even go back to sleep. As soon as I got up at 7:30, I literally just binged the show. From start to finish, no breaks besides pee, stuff I gotta do randomly. I binged the whole thing in a day, in less than a day, and I was just like, my God, I wanted more. The fact that I actually did a rewatch of it just a few days afterwards, just because I knew I wanted to do this, and I'm like, okay, let me get refresh. I know it was only like 5 hours of content, but you know, those 5 hours draw by quickly. It really does. Like, you know, it literally was like we were at the premiere, and then all of a sudden we were at the finale. I was like, and I enjoyed the whole ride. I really, this is back to the original formula. This was back to the original, like, everything matters. Like, everything is kind of low-key building on top of each of itself. And it's establishing this universe that we've already known for so many years and kind of giving it a little bit more age in a good way. You know, the big component is that Bobby is now an adult. And that's, I think, the biggest selling point was that, you know, they didn't just pick back up where they left off and see. I'm pretty sure they would have been able to do so, like put the kids in high school. Like, I think I would have honestly been down if that was the case, and, you know, put them for the high school adventures. I would have been down for that. But the fact that, you know, they aged up the characters, Bobby's now an adult, so he's able to kind of, you know, participate in more mature storylines than the original series, and you still have all your favorite cast of characters, well, almost all of them. Some people, sadly, we lost along the way via their VAs, you know, no longer with us anymore, so obviously they have to make accommodations to write them out. But even the ones they were able to bring back this year, I was so happy. I really was. There were things that I knew was going to happen, and I was very happy with it, and there were things I wasn't even expecting in that 10 episodes, and as a result, even those, the unexpected, was like, they knew what I wanted, but it's not what I was requesting, and I think that's wonderful. And there was a bit of a stigma going into this season of, like, they're just going to do a lot of, like, episodes basing around, you know, oh, here are the new fancy schmangy things that have happened since, you know, King of the Hill went off the air. Like, oh, remember, you know, Uber Eats? We're going to do something with that. Oh, the pandemic, we're going to do something with that. And they do, but it's not something that kind of really takes over the whole episode. It's more like, you know, minute details that, again, you don't expect. Like, you know, I won't give too much away, but, you know, Hank gains a new hobby of sorts. That, again, it's not something that was, like, really, like, on top of my brain, but I was like, oh, but it makes sense, and it's like, you know, they don't have to necessarily just do the traditional revival thing. Hey, it's been a decade, let's just talk about the new things, let's refer to social media, let's refer to texting, you know, smartphone. Like, they don't need to do that. Like, it's there, but it's not at the focal. It's not. It's just, it's there to kind of, you know, just remind you, hey, this is modern day King of the Hill. It's, you know, obviously, I believe the continuity, why it is 2025 or 2024, around that. So they are still within present day where we're at now. Obviously, timelines work very differently. There's an episode 9, that kind of froze me in a loop. Like, it doesn't make sense in the timeline, but, you know, they don't address it specifically so they can get away with it. But I thought that was, you know, very fun as well. But to specifically talk about the premiere episode, Return of the King, that was, oh my God, just a 22-minute episode where it was literally the perfect way to bring you back, where they're setting the tone of the new show, the new run of episodes we're going to get. Hopefully we're going to get more. I already heard that King of the Hill performed #1 on the adult animation front from Disney Plus and Hulu in 5 years. 4.4 million viewers, first week. That's amazing. I 100% guarantee we're going to get that more seasons soon. We already got season 15 next year. I can guarantee you we're going to get more seasons. I guarantee you that. If they don't, they're crazy. They really are. Well, I mean, who knows how long the revival run's going to go? I really don't know. I don't think it'll go for 13. I think that's just too outlandish. I kind of have a feeling they probably know where they're going to want to end it out, and I think that's going to probably make it for a much more better result. But anyway, to get back to the premiere, but like, the premiere was, you're bringing back Hank and Peggy back to Texas again. They found a way to kind of, reintroduce the audience to the world of Arlen, Texas that we all know and love, giving us, I guess, modern day updates on all the most of all of our primary characters, keeping some for a little bit later on. If you know what I'm talking about, and as a result, getting to hear all those voices again, getting to hear Mike Judge back as Hank Hill, getting to hear Stephen Root back as Bill Dauterive, getting to see almost everyone come back and just play those characters again. Obviously, they're going to sound a little bit different because, again, it's been over almost 15 years since they last recorded, so I'm not going to give them too much slack on that. Again, that's just part of aging. You can't really help it. But just to hear them again, it's like being a kid. And I'm still surprised, like, as an adult, and maybe that's just how business works, it's like the nostalgia bait, where, yeah, I'm literally, like, so enthralled, like, oh my god, I'm seeing a brand new King of the Hill episode as an adult. And again, that's crazy for me to say, because again, I was a kid when the show came out originally, when I was watching it for the first time. Now I'm an adult watching it, and then you bring in Bobby, who was a kid like me when I watched the original series, and now he's an adult. I'm like, goddamn, like, it's just, goddamn, it's like, and getting to see him, succeed, where like we had the minute details at the very end of the original run where he probably wanted to go into something in the food industry, and now he's a chef at his own restaurant. Again, it all comes full circle in the natural evolution chain, and as a result, I was just blown away by it. I really, really was. Like, and the fact that, again, I'm gonna spoil a couple minor things, but Hank's dealing with their version of Uber, or Bill's like sad, depression arc again, and the man can never get a break. He never really can. The fact he finished Netflix and he had a physical wellness check, and I'm like, dude. Like, that's so sad. That really, really is. Dale somehow becoming mayor of Arlen. Yeah, that's a thing. Well, just for a little bit, but the fact he became officially a political figure for a brief 36 minutes, and I'm just like, yeah, I could 100% expect that. I would have not been surprised, and it just worked out so well. It really, really did. And honestly, and just like the other things, like, getting to see John Record again, catching up with Nancy Gribble, obviously, Bobby and even Joseph, which, again, I forgot there's a character that with my name on it, and I'm just like, just getting to see that. Connie again, it's like, someone managed to do a whole nother world building episode again in season 14. It's like, God, it was wonderful. It really, really was. Yeah, but I feel like if there is any minor criticisms that are my own personal front, like I said, like, when it comes to animation, especially when you're producing a block episodes without your original creators involved in every single little mini step of the process, I will admit, I would have loved to see more of the primary Hill family together. We get episodes that they're not always together, and that's as much as a spoiler I'm going to give. And I think it's a double-edged sword for me, because like, it allows Bobby to kind of grow as a character as an adult, not having to always depend on his parents for every single little thing like he was as a kid. He kind of has to now learn some of these new lessons on his own. And I think, honestly, that kind of, it showcases his growth, that like, he doesn't really need them that often. Like, even, I think it was episode 3 specifically where it was still focused on Bobby and Hank again. It was like the first time they're really seriously dealing with their relationship again, after episode 2, of course, and being able to kind of like, remind us that Bobby is not Hank. He's not trying to be Hank. Obviously, I think Bobby managed to impress Hank now more than ever after the original series finale. So coming back here to the revival premiere, to this new run, it's like, they're establishing again, like, they have similar things in common, but again, Bobby's going to go in his own way, and sometimes it might not always be exactly what Hank agrees with. And I think as a result, it just kind of makes him much more of a more standout character than even before some of the original run. And even for me, like, I'm still going to be a criticism, like, because I grew up on those 13 seasons, so again, I'm always going to be critical of like not seeing them together. But that's just a minor critique for me, personally speaking. And, I'm a little bummed that we didn't get to get all the characters coming back. Some characters that we know did not come back that I thought would be shoo-ins to get updates for. But again, we have a whole nother season coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if they're included there. They're producing the 20 together. So again, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. But again, I was a little bummed because I want to see everyone come back. I want to see, all of them. We don't really get to see the Super Newsom phones again until later on in the season. And I really want to delve into their new dynamic. And again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. I'm really not. But I really wanted to. But it made sense on paper. You had to focus back on Hank and Peggy. That they are exploring the retirement chapter of their life back home, back in Ireland, and dealing with not only just that, but just, all the new changes that had occurred since they've been away. And then you have, of course, Bobby reconnecting with Connie, having to balance, his new business partnership, friendship with Chang Wasana-san, which again, I had no idea. I thought they were, when I saw the original press release, I'm like, are they just going to bring a new character? And I know it's Chang from the original. I'm like, oh, damn. Like, wasn't expecting that. I thought that was going to be one of those, like, characters that appears once in a while, like a random, like, cameo, but like, to have him, like, be a part of the overall storylines is, like, wasn't expecting that. Really wasn't. So again, that all made sense in that front. And obviously bringing in some new characters, kind of, it's not always got to be old. I think that's where some, nostalgia revival shows kind of fail. It's like you bring in new character, but you don't bring in too much. I think for this show, they only brought in new characters, but they were just there at time. We didn't get too much of them. We didn't need whole episodes about, I think the new quasi fifth group gang is Brian. He was the guy who took over the Hills residence throughout the years they were away in Saudi Arabia. So he kind of like pops in randomly, but he's not really fully part of the gang. He's just there at time. We don't really need to get a whole episode about him. He is who he is. He shows up when he needs to, and that's it. Similar to some other the new characters that do recur throughout. And honestly, as a result, I think it works out better. It's a really good balance of like, we're not oversaturating on either front. It's a perfect balance. And again, I really hope they continue that as we progress into next year when we come back for season 15. I really do. Hope they manage to continue, which I have no doubt that they will. And it just makes me clamoring for more. The fact that I already rewatched the season. I watched it twice in 1 week. That's just how great it is. It really is. And I'm just happy. I really am. This is a great time for adult animation fans. I think someone posted it online recently, was like, this is the first time since 2010 you had a new Family Guy episode, a new King of the Hill episode, a new Futurama episode, a new South Park episode, all within the same calendar year. And that's crazy. That really is. And the fact, like, those 2000 vibes are coming back in 2020. How long will they last for? I really don't know. I don't know. I hope they last a while. I mean, if we get 5 more seasons of King of the Hill, including this one, I would be totally game. I would be. I wouldn't want it to overstay its welcome. I really wouldn't. I know it's adult animation. I know, like, the little episode order kind of gives it more room to develop and grow, but I wouldn't want it to overstay its welcome. I don't think it's a show that's going to necessarily, I do believe by the time we finish the 2030s, we'll be already done with King of the Hill again. That's just my whole hard prediction by the time I'm about to turn 40. And again, that's just a prediction. I don't know, really. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to turn 30 in a couple years. I don't want to think about it. But the point of the matter is that the King of the Hill revival season was perfect. Was something that I needed. There might be a couple of missed complaints for me, but overall, like, I understand it. It's just a personal thing, but it's a near perfect thing. It's a near perfect return to the show that we loved from before. It perfectly brings back these characters. Only modernizing them when it's necessary, not just for the sake of modernization, but because of their development. And as a result, it just does it perfectly. It makes you want more. And I think that's the perfect way, because there's a lot of shows that do the binge model nowadays. We binge them and we're done. We could just move on. If they come up with another season in a couple of years, cool. Whatever the case might be. This is like, I already want season 15 now. I want the next other 10 episodes. I want to see more from them. I just want them to continue. I really do. I do believe this has the potential to run for a long time, as much as the original. And they have all the elements there. They really do. And that's kind of all that I do want to see. But, Hulu, the ball's in your corner. It really is. Which I just realized that Disney kind of owns King of the Hill now. I just realized that. Damn. They do to a certain extent, but you know what? We won't call Ace for Spades there. So for me and my quick impressions, which may have run a little longer than my usual runtime, I love this season. I really, really do. It's a perfect return to the show. It's a near perfect season, and honestly, it just makes you clamoring for more. So yeah. You can check out the revival season 14 of Disney. I was going to say Disney, of Hulu's King of the Hill, now available on Hulu. All 10 episodes ready for your consumer binge. Let me know down below, what did you think of the return of the King of the Hill series? Did you love it or did you love it? I mean, there's only one way you can say it. You gotta love it. So let me know down below. We'd love to have a conversation with you about it. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if I don't know where this has been, Joe here from What's of the Tube, delivering a quick impressions for you on the season on television that I really, really wanted to talk about. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two besides these quick impressions, right now we're just doing quick impressions. We're just we're easing back into things, you know, as we gear up for the fall content season. We also do another show called After the Theater. It's our movie review show. We just put up our review for Inside Out 2, so go please check that out there. Your support really does mean the world to us. And other than that, we have another channel over the webs called The Collection Compass, where we do unboxings of home media stuff. We're looking at other collections such as Funko Pops, Amiibos, Lightning collectors. We have a lot of content. We have a ton of content for you to explore and watch. So go please. I would very much appreciate the support. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell for social media. I butchered it. It's been a long time since I did it, but I'm going to leave it here. Thank you again for everything. Please, I'll see you down the road. But until then, please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.